Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be a review of the Odin Eclipse, Odin Gaming's newest mousepad that they sent out for review, and the first black rectangle review on my channel in a while, so that's super exciting. But yes, this mousepad, based on their advertising, I thought going into receiving it that it was going to be a zero clone. I was absolutely wrong. And even though the Eclipse is using a modified version of the Zero's weave, the texture feeling like on your arm and the operational gliding experience is just not similar whatsoever to this Artisan Zero. And the Zero is rougher, lower initial friction, and just an overall significantly faster pad. So I would just consider the Eclipse to be a slow control pad option rather than a zero clone slash alternative. If you are looking for a zero clone, stay on the lookout for a Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn review. And I'm not at all saying the Eclipse is a bad pad, but if you buy one expecting it to feel exactly like a Zero, it will not feel like that. But I guess that's a good time to talk about the changes they made, the first of which is the texture. They claim it is ultra smooth. Never mind, had to refer back to the box. They clearly state it is an ultra soft fabric combined with a buttery smooth glide, and the ultra soft fabric part is definitely the case. I would say in terms of texture, this is close to something like the GameSense Radar and even maybe a slightly smoother Zowie GSR. Definitely not close to the old versions of the Artisan Zero, and surprisingly enough, there actually is a new version of the Artisan Zero. The updated batches are using a different feeling texture, so there's a full review of that coming soon. But even for this pad, which is smoother than the original Zero, it's still rougher in comparison to the Odin Eclipse. So a very soft and smooth mouse pad. The texture on the Eclipse is not abrasive at all, so if that's something you need from a mouse pad, this achieves that. Another claim that they make that is an improvement from the Zero is hair and dust repellents, and definitely hair. Because I will show my 1.5-year old Zero in a second. It is disgusting with the amount of animal hair that gets in it, that unless you remove it individually with a tweezer, you're fucked. But thankfully it doesn't affect the glide. As you can see, this Artisan Zero is like the night sky. The more you look at it, the more hair you can find. And hair has just been a non-issue, and if I do see one, I can easily swipe it off on the Eclipse. While I'm at this angle, I might as well do a lighter test. This isn't an extremely plushy pad, somewhere in between Artisan soft and mid. It is only 3 mm thick, so there's really only so much give it could have, but definitely a bit plushier than Artisan mid. The stitching and rubber backing is no different than it has been on past pads from Odin Gaming. The rubber backing, I would say, is elite, while the stitching, there are better options. Something like the Razor Strider and the Lethal Gaming Gear pads are one step above, I would say. And then Artisan pads are the top tier that nobody can eclipse. Holy shit, leave a like. One problem though, not really with the stitching, but I guess this is just the overall build quality on my unit specifically. It's just not lying perfectly flat. I'm not sure if there's anything I could do about that. It wasn't especially tightly rolled up in the box, and it doesn't affect me performance-wise, but it is just a quality thing that mousepads should be flat on all four corners, where this really just isn't flat at the corners. So that's sort of disappointing, especially since the Infinity, at least in my case, has been perfect on all of the units I've owned. Speaking of sizes, I didn't say anything about sizes, but this is only available in the XL 490 by 420 size for now. I think they'll have a 2XL size in the future, but yeah, this is the same size as Artisan XL, only thing available for now. But now getting to what actually matters, the glide of the mousepad. Like I said before, very controlled. It takes a lot to get the mouse to start moving, and what I noticed, I'm not sure if this is a defect on my copy due to the unevenness, or if it's intentional, but if your mouse gate design features 4 corner feet, it will be a bit bumpy when you switch directions, and this definitely adds control. It's certainly not from like putting pressure into the mouse pad. I personally don't like it. It's nothing I've felt before, and I'm also not sure if that'll be the case on every copy, or if it's just because this is a thin mouse pad and it's not lying flat, so I'm feeling some of the inconsistencies. That is probably boring as fuck, but it was my experience, and it just made the pad feel a bit worse than the Artisan Zero, in my opinion, even though this does have the benefit of a more comfortable texture. But if you do use a mouse with a large mouse gate design, you'll notice that the bumpy feeling, or at least in my case, completely goes away and you get a smooth and slow glide. With the black Zowie's feet specifically in faster paced games like Fortnite, this mousepad was just very slow. One of the slower ones I've tried recently. Not as slow as the Lethal Gaming Gear Jupiter, but if you're looking for something faster than a GSR, like slower than a Zero, slower than a GP4, then maybe this is the pad you're looking for. But due to how slow the Eclipse is, it's not really a recommendation for faster paced tracking heavy games. The Zero, it's kind of an all-arounder. It's fast enough for every game. It's also slow enough for every game. While the Eclipse, it is definitely going to be favored by people who want a slower, controlled mousepad. And even though I don't think the Eclipse is perfect or a revolutionary Zero killer like their advertising suggests, it's still an uncoded, solid control pad for $30. You can use code boardzy to save 10% on their site, but if you're an EU, you can use Max Gaming to get the mouse pad. But yeah, I'm not going to give it the seal of approval. It's just something I'm not going to come back to. A bit too slow for what I personally prefer. I know that lots of people will like it, and hopefully that the slight quality issues I've been having are limited to my copy. And I know people are going to ask about humidity and durability, and humidity, it just hasn't gone over 80% humidity in the past week I have used this pad, and consistency does not seem affected by that. It does seem to play a bit faster when my room is colder, which it has been recently as well, but long-term durability is still a question. Since it's uncoated, you would not expect it to wear down, but you really cannot tell until you put the hours into the mousepad. But that's going to be all for the review. It's still, like, I'd say an A-tier mousepad, but just not seal of approval for me. But yeah, if you want to check it out, link in the description. Like and sub if you enjoyed. Use code boardzy. Peace.